Welcome to Cosmic Circles, where studios, stories, and spiritual practices joyfully intertwine to uplift us and elevate us to connect in a awakening community. My name is Linda Varos, and I am a clairvoyant medium, a naturalist, an author, and an artist. I'm speaking to you from my studio in Pennsylvania. And today we're going to be speaking with someone on the other side of the world, a wonderful artist named Marigold Fairweather, who lives in Mount Dandenong, Victoria, Australia. Maggie Hubbard is her true name, but her artist name is Marigold Fairweather. I've known her by that name for many years. She is a wonderful transpersonal art therapist who specializes in Mandala dream interpretation. If you would like to be in touch with Marigold and work on some dream interpretation with her, then the contact information for reaching her will be at the end of the interview. I hope you really enjoy our meeting with her today, and I hope you come back and visit many other people and have many other conversations with me in the future. So please, subscribe. Reach at the bottom and hit the subscribe button. Click the bell if you'd like to be notified whenever I upload new stories and new interviews. And so looking forward to working with you and joyfully elevating together. Take care and thank you. Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to Spiritual Studio Tours, the very first one. And this is my dear Facebook friend across the world, Marigold Fairweather, who lives in Victoria, Australia. And she's an artist. And oh my gosh, and so many, a potter, a gardener, a mystical, very mystical person, shamanist in some ways, and also has spent, 25 years as a professional therapist. I mean, the list is so long, but and you could talk more about all the things that you've done and are doing. But the thing I was so moved by when I read your bio was that your life's mission is to show people beauty. I love that, Marigold.
It's absolutely true. It came to me in a meditation about 20 years ago. Because I've always been into following your vision, your personal vision. It's really important. And
so how
the beauty, it's not just the beauty of our earth and the world around us or other people, it's also the beauty within, because everybody has beauty within.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought how interesting, because that's kind of my mission, is showing people the beauty within them. And as I said, when I read your bio, the alignment of things between you and I sort of knocked my socks off. Okay. Both weavers, both married musicians, both studied illustration. And I wrote this list: graphic design, fiber arts, doing the shamanic work, having a deep connection to England. And there was another one, but I can't read my handwriting. But and so the fact that we were drawn towards each other in some way on Facebook, I just, I could complain about Facebook and all the things wrong with it, but I just find it such a blessing in a lot of ways too, for it having made new connections across the globe and really bonding, strong friendships and strong bonds between people, and how it allows us to uplift each other. And I mean, it allows us to get in the dregs too, but you're certainly one of those bright lights in my life.
Oh, thank you. It's really nice.
So I'm so excited to get to see your studio, being a fellow artist, and to hearing how you integrate what your spiritual philosophies and practices into what you do. So, as an artist, what, and also where you live. You live in this incredible nature paradise, southern Australia on the ocean there. Um, I'm sure that influences your work too.
Oh, well, I chose to live here because it's a magical place. Yeah, it's a temperate rainforest, and it's almost an hour out of Melbourne, but it's quite accessible, and it's kind of it's like a tropical rainforest, except it's cold. But also, we have a lot of European trees here, and it has little breaths of Europe here as well, which are quite lovely. So we've got the primal forest, and we have the old European culture as well. It's beautiful. I love it.
I've looked at some photos since you told me where you live, and you said you live on the mountain range, so you're Mount Dandenong.
It's called Mount Dandenong or Corran Warrable, and that means home of the black-footed wallaby. So we have a lot of wildlife here as well, Australian wildlife. In my garden, I have quite an extensive garden, and we have wallaby and we have wombats living here, and all kinds of parrots and big birds and little tiny birds and even deer, introduced deer that are quite feral but beautiful. They sort of come in very quietly. Yeah, I can't even begin. Oh, lyrebirds. I've got lyrebirds in my garden. They're incredible. Do you know what they are?
What is it?
A lyrebird. So its tail, it's like a peacock kind of thing, but beautiful browns, not the vivid colours, but the tail, they hold their tail up like this, and it's shaped like a lyre. Mm-hmm. A Greek lyre.
Oh, I've seen pictures of those, yeah.
They're incredible, and they mimic all the other sounds in the bush. So that's their mating ritual, but they're just incredible. Oh. So I've got those in my garden. Yeah, it's really magical. It's really magical. It's kind of a bit spooky sometimes that you feel presences up here. It's misty, it's cold.
And cold. So when you say cold, in the summertime, I mean...
No, it can get very hot in summer, up to 40 degrees. But in winter, we have a long winter, and it is very cold. We get snow here sometimes, not all the time, but often it's cold enough to snow, but the weather conditions aren't right for snow. Yeah. What else can I say?
How does this influence your...
Because it influences me very heavily because of the... I'm very aware of the seasons and the flow of nature and the weather. We have very extreme weather, and there are lots of elementals here, lots of nature spirits everywhere, and there are pockets that are quite haunted as well. It's a really strange place, and you either love it or hate it. But everybody knows it's quite mystical here, and that's what drew me to live in this particular spot. But most of my adult life, I've kind of lived around or on the mountain. It's one mountain.
It's one mountain. It's not like a range. Okay.
It's probably part of some really old structure, but no, it's one. It's huge. It's massive. It's got lots of villages on it.
So I know that you're an illustrator. I've seen your lovely watercolors. But you really, really get into the clay. You really, it's inspiring. How did that happen? Yeah, how did that happen? They're alive. They
are. Yeah. Some people would call it channeling. A lot of artists know the feeling, even if they don't call it anything. It's like something wants to manifest in this world, and it comes through your hands. It chooses your hands, and that's why I never feel that there's never any competition in art, because we all have a different skill set and a different way of interpreting anything. But yeah, I feel very much when I'm working the clay that this daemon is an old-fashioned word, wants to manifest in this mud and become part of this world, and they really do. And I make little house guardians because they're quite affordable, and people all over the world go, I want that one. It's like they just connect like from across a crowded room sort of thing. It's really funny. It's lovely. Yeah. But yeah, they are ensouled almost. It's really strange. And I just I came upon that. I don't even know how it happened. I just discovered it as I was working clay one day. But I started doing clay seriously when I was studying transpersonal art therapy, and we had I've told you this, but I'll tell the people looking. The course I did was based on a shamanic model, and we did a lot of traditional type of healing methods, but because it was art therapy, we used shamanic art quite a lot. And one of the techniques that a shaman uses is to be psychopomp, and they wear the shaman's mask.
Right.
And so we did a lot of mask work, because also we did Jungian psychology, and Jung he did a lot of work on the mask and face, that, like, saving face and all that kind of thing, and how we do that in society. So we learned all that, but we used art as a way of interpreting. However, to get to do it in a shamanic way, you do it in trance. So you work the clay in trance, and whatever transpires does. And what I loved about it was that my very first shamanic mask was the healer's mask, and it took 4 days to be born. And in that time, it just kept morphing and changing. It would change gender, and it would change its character and everything until it was finally it said to me, you talk to it in your mind, and finally it said to me, okay, that's done. Because sometimes I'll say, make my nose a bit bigger, or lift my eye, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I go with that, and that's how they manifest. Is that clear enough?
I love that. Yeah, I love that. How it keeps morphing, and you're just allowing that to.
Yeah, you just go with it. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's a lovely, lovely thing to do. So I just kept doing it for the next 20 years. And I do love illustration, and I love playing with colour, but I was encouraged to do more sculpture because we've got this big art society here. It's called a cultural centre, but it's also a big, gets lots of government funding for arts.
Yeah.
And they said, we find your sculpture really compelling. Can you please feature your sculpture for our open studios? So I did, and I stuck with the sculpture because I really like it. But I also love illustration as well. So different things.
Whatever moves you, whatever.
At the time,
Yeah. So
I'd
like for you to, show us a little bit of your studio and what.
Okay. Now I hope this works with my phone. Just tell me if it doesn't. I've got some sculpture here. Am I going too fast?
No, it's good.
Yeah. So that's it. I made a little nest of sculpture for you so that people can see. Can you see?
Oh, wait.
So that's pottery.
Oh, yes. Okay. A little.
These are the little faces. Are they showing you?
Move over a little bit to the right.
That way.
Oh, there they are.
That's what they're like.
Yes.
And then I do big.
Oh, who's that one up there?
I do bigger work. Now that's the spirit of the trees here. We have the tallest flowering plants in the whole world here. They're hundreds and hundreds of feet tall. they're called eucalyptus regnans, and that's the spirit of one. When you look up, they look like they're looking down at you. So that's like a dryad. And I don't quite know what he is, but can you see him?
Oh, okay, a little bit to the right. Bring your camera a little to the right and a little bit down. Down, and there you go. Perfect.
Okay, so I think he's some kind of a king, but he hasn't got a beard.
He does look like royalty, doesn't he?
Yeah. I love him. I don't want to ever sell him.
Oh, that's so funny.
Sometimes I make things like that. Like this guy, I'll hold it a bit closer. I don't really want to sell him. I might, but
a joy. I have to say,
I'm having a relationship with him at the moment.
Yeah, look at the joy though in their faces.
He's a dear. He's an absolute dear, and that's what they're all about. This one's a little bit. She's a little bit suspicious, I guess, but that makes a good guardian. Mm-hmm. So if she's hanging up above your door, she's going to be a good one. And this one's a bit.
Okay.
This is a scary king.
Oh my goodness, he is very much like fairy tales.
Yeah.
Like you don't know if you should, like just do what he says or run the other way.
Yeah.
So very serious.
This one's a wizard. I'm working on more wizards. Hold on. So it's a different type of. This is stoneware that I do.
Oh.
Can you see the face?
Yes.
Yeah. So some people like to have a wizard. So
they're all different. What clay? When you say stoneware, what clay is that?
It's called buff raku, something unpronounceable. BRT we call it. It's just a special clay mix, and it's got lots of minerals in it. And when it's fired in a certain way, those minerals and crystally bits come to the surface. And when I work it, it's quite smooth. I use it for these too. I work with moss, so I make these little moss balls and put them in bowls.
I love that. Oh my God, I'm like a moss freak. I'm a fog freak. I'm telling you, just everything you're talking about is like I can hop in the car and drive over.
I wish it could. That would be great. That's another one. There. Now you can see it. That's hanging up in front of the window.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's a moss ball. And then I just pot it up. So I work with plants as well. They kind of all go together.
You know what? I've seen the pictures of them hanging in your window, and it's just
that's the window. I don't know if you can see it. It's a bit hard with the phone. And that's in the middle of my room. I had a very ugly light, so I did this. I'm getting a bit sick of it. It's been there for a couple of years.
Yes.
That's a feature.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better. There. That's my nest. It's got all kinds of beads.
You know what? It works beautifully, and it works because of the light fixture, and it just goes with everything you have in your room. And I saw the picture of the face that has the ivy on it that's hanging behind you there. Over to your other side. Now it's directly behind you.
This one? This one.
Yeah. Yeah, the one hanging over your head, that's the one you took a picture of. I was trying to, so it's actually a pot.
It's a pot, and it's got a pot plant in it. And it hangs quite close to the ceiling. So, I don't know what I'm doing here. Might have to cut that bit out.
That's so clever.
I made that. I used to have a plant shop, and I would sell pots and things in there as well. So that was a bit of fun.
I love that. That's such a different perspective of who would think of hanging a pot with a face looking down on it? But I mean, you did. I love it.
Yeah, I did. Well, I was trying. This is what happens. I was trying to make. I thought, everybody loves goddesses. I'll make a goddess, because someone will buy that. And I should never do that and never make for the market, because it never works for me. What happened was I got a moon face, and I love it. I don't want to sell it.
Yeah, yes.
So I keep the ones that I especially love. I love this one too. That girl there. Can you see that?
Yes, beautiful. What a peaceful, a little bit to the right, please. A little bit.
That way?
There you go. Right, yeah. And
Yeah,
down.
I didn't know that she was going to be like that
Peaceful.
when I made her.
Very,
Yeah.
meditative, you
Yeah.
know.
So she's on the other side of the room to the king. So I've got the lady and the king. Yeah, so it's only one room, but and outside, I can show you outside the door, I think.
Do you have a spiritual practice? Like, do you every morning?
I don't. No, I'm not regular with anything in particular. I've studied Druidry for over 20 years, and I picked up a lot of techniques along the way. Mm-hmm. And with the shamanism, I belong to a healing circle, but no, I don't do a regular today. You know, I wake up and I do 20 minutes meditation, and then I do this and that. I don't have a special diet or anything, nothing. But I feel like I'm continually in the flow of connection, and I can tell when I'm out of sorts because I'm not feeling myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have a special practice at all. Oh, I know how to get my mind in the right place.
Yeah, sometimes we just need to give ourselves a little reminder, a little jolt. Oh, I just feel like the world has so many entrapments for taking us down that path of negative energy or worrisome or ruminating, and we have to be aware to just jump back off and say, oh, hey, this isn't in my best interest. This is not where I choose to be, so I'm going to redirect. But boy, it's a challenge, isn't it? It is a challenge.
Yeah, I think it helps. Where I live helps a lot too. It's very easy to live as a recluse, and I do to a great extent. I love people as well, but I don't. Yeah, my days of socialising a lot, and I'm old. I like to be in my garden and fiddle with my art.
Yeah, you're always in your garden, and you're not old. Age is really, it's an attitude,
Yeah, but I've got the old lady attitude, I think. I'm a naughty nonna. I actually feel my eldership now, and that's okay. I sort of feel it's the natural place for me to be. Mm-hmm. I really don't want to be young again. I've done that. Yeah. And now I'm learning new things. It's not that you stop learning or doing, it's just a different attitude, I think. I'm still learning. I'm doing an online writing course, and I'm learning astronumerology. There was something else I was learning. I forget what it was now. Yeah, and that's another thing. Your brain changes. Like, I forget a lot.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Don't you think as a creative, we also tend to sort of, we can overstimulate ourselves,
Yes.
Look at that over there and that over there and that, we can just.
Well, life's pretty short. There's a lot to pack in. Yeah, I feel like I have packed a lot into my life. Yeah. Especially. Sorry.
And well, you've done so much traveling, which clearly was also very, very led by your spiritual journey, getting on the path of awakening, really, for a very long time. So of some of your travels, what would you say had the biggest spiritual impact on you? I mean, I'm familiar with your recent trips, but
I went to my father's village in Scotland. My father's grandfather's village, I should say, in Scotland, which has never been invaded and still has people with the same family name living there, and they're all little Pictish type people. It's got lots of Iron Age hill forts, and I went and sat on a hill fort every day, and it's I reconnected with that side of my ancestry. That was a pilgrimage. So that changed me a lot. Whenever I go away, I get sick. I always have these big challenges. I had no voice when I was in Scotland, which was really difficult, travelling alone and not being able to talk to people. But that was a lesson in itself. Like, that was massive. And it was about just having to sit with me and what was going on, and having to pray a lot too. I did. That was a big one. And the most recent was in Peru. That's the freshest in my mind. That was big. I'd like to go back there.
The photographs you were much.
Yeah, it's amazing. Have you been there?
No. I mean, that would
be. You should go. It's incredible.
I know I should go.
You would love it.
I know I would love it. I loved England and didn't want to leave there, and I'm still looking forward to going back and exploring other parts of England, but Machu Picchu definitely,
it's really otherworldly, even though there are thousands of tourists there. I was like that in Versailles, in Paris, in France, Versailles Palace. That was incredible. I really connected. I don't know if that was past life or what it was, but I don't mind a bit of gold and opulence. Other people say, oh, it's really, crass. But I think it's incredible. It was built to show the power of the king at the time. Yeah. And it does. It still does. And, oh, my God, I was blown away. I loved it. And I wasn't that interested in Marie Antoinette had lived there as well. I wasn't that interested in her. It was Louis. And then that series came out on TV about Versailles, and that was after I got home. That was incredible. But yeah, that really stirred up something in me. But like every pilgrimage does, it's meant to.
I've only just been looking into it. I'm sorry, what did you say? Not every what? What did you say?
I said, I'm not quite sure. I think we've had a bit of a glitch happen in the video, but I think every pilgrimage does bring something up for you, and it's meant to. It's meant to reconnect you with your path. And I walked Camino Santiago, and I took the Norte route, which is along the north coast of Spain, which is not so much travelled, and a lot through farms and rural areas and abandoned villages and things. Really, it's very beautiful, but it's also it's an eye-opener for someone from my country. But what was I going to say? That was a really tough one. Really really tough, not just physically but emotionally, and I had to face a lot of fears on that one. There were some dangerous times, and I got through them. And
did you go by yourself?
No, I went with somebody else from Australia. If I was ever traveling again, I would go by myself. Because but traveling with that person taught me a lot as well. And it has put me on. When you're traveling out of your element, I think you become mindful of things you need to know. And I learned a fair bit about me, but also my relationship to life. And it's not always, like, we're not all perfect. And I'm still learning about things like that.
Are you planning on any more trips?
Not at this point, no. I don't think I'm even allowed to leave Australia.
Ever? I mean, do you think they're not going to let anyone out?
They have a mandate because I chose not to take the vaccination. Mm-hmm. It's still in the experimental stages and I'm not convinced yet, so I'm waiting. So anyone that's not vaxxed isn't allowed to leave, and it's a treaty they've got with the United Nations, apparently. So yeah. I can get out of the country, but whether or not it's going to be an easy trip or not is another matter, and whether they'll let me back in easily is another matter.
Yeah.
So no, I'm waiting until the world settles down. I'm not in a big hurry to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. In fact, Australia is so far away from most places that every flight takes ages. It takes such a long time to get anywhere. Yeah. And I hate it. I just hate it.
Yeah. So, and I can see how cold it is too, because you're breathing icy steam.
Yeah, it's cold in my studio at the moment. I've got the heater on. Yeah. But lots of clothes on.
That's an interesting thing you mentioned about Versailles, because I really had not much interest in it. I did have a little interest in Marie Antoinette, but just because she was such a character, in history. And I do believe that there's and I've since read that she got a bad rap on a lot of things that weren't necessarily true about her. But, I had my 23andMe done, and they sent a note saying that I was in the direct line from Marie Antoinette. And so, and I was like, oh no. And I had just been going around saying, let them eat cake as a joke to someone. And then I read that and I'm like, okay.
You had the most beautiful garden.
I have to look into this.
Oh, you would love it. She had she had her own sort of palace. And I went there. And it was beautiful, really beautiful.
She spent time building this garden for protection so she could walk in it and not be bothered by people.
Well, it was just gorgeous. It was not a cottage garden, but you wouldn't have such status and have a cottage garden, but it was pretty.
Yeah,
really lovely.
I imagine it must be gorgeous. I mean, that was such a lavish. It's such a lavish, structure and everything, the interior.
Well, there are lots of different parts of it, and it's a huge estate. It goes for acres and acres and acres. Wow. And it has all different parts were built at different times, and you should go. It's amazing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah.
It really, I think it really makes you think about past lives. When I read people, I originally, when I was younger, I didn't believe, I was taught to not believe in reincarnation. And yet I knew that St. John the Baptist had been reincarnated from, I forget who, Abraham, or anyway, I knew that there were mention in the Bible of reincarnation. And so, and then in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they discovered there was 13 mentions by Jesus of, if you realize that, you're never separated from the Creator, that you don't need to keep repeating this. And for somebody to say you don't need to keep repeating this, it's like you're talking about reincarnation without saying the word, right? And but when I started reading people, and when it really became, their past lives would show up for me over and over, and it would connect with things going on in their life now. And you can't convince me otherwise, because it's so clear. And so even the fact that you went to these places, I just feel like for your soul, it was really important to reconnect, because you'd been to all of them before. And,
spot on. That's so true. Yeah. I have felt that in lots of places I've been. Yeah. One amazing thing that happened was in England when we were leaving. People would give us apples and pears and things. It was a season, autumn, we were there, and really old trees and really old varieties of fruit that I'd never seen, like beautiful shapes. And so like as an artist, I was just, oh, these are so lovely. And I did a little ceremony in a hedgerow.
Did
So I
you?
was learning. I'd stayed in this old house that had been built before the Reformation, and I just really connected with that land for some reason. It just resonated, and it was so beautiful. And so I went to the hedgerow on my own and did this private ceremony, and I gave some of this beautiful fruit and stuff back to the mother. And as I was sort of saying my prayers and thanks to the Earth Mother, the Pachamama, I got this sense of all these other women throughout history who had done exactly the same thing in secret, because you'd feel like an idiot if ordinary people drove past in their car and saw what you were doing. It was very secretive and very personal and very precious. It was the most beautiful thing, because I'd sort of built this lovely altar and everything, collected wildflowers, and I'm a big one for ritual. Like you say, do you have any spiritual practices? Well, private rituals, yes.
Yes.
But I felt so connected with women throughout history there, and not women that you would have ever heard of.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'd be surprised, but that's really a beautiful. I mean, I'm just getting such a visual. I can feel that moment, and that experience of you, taking time to do that ceremony there, and how that stuck with you all these years. How meaningful that was. That you're feeling. I can see that you're still feeling that sense and sense.
Oh yeah, it was very special. So within my practice of working with other people too, I'll often say, let's do a ritual or whatever. It makes life, it lifts life up a couple of notches.
It does. Ceremony is so important. I think it's a way to really connect us with that stream. It's almost like an instantaneous connection, and it's also honoring,
honoring the land, but also that was something I connected with in South America too. The people, I love the people there. They're so beautiful. They're still working the same family plot for their vegetables that their family's been working for 2,000 years on these terraces. It's just incredible, and they still have the reverence for First Mother, Pachamama. But in that, you're loving the earth, and you're grateful. You're loving your ancestors and everyone that's brought you into this life, and you're loving yourself. It's just about love, really.
Yeah,
so beautiful.
We're so out of touch with it in our cultures here. We're so out of touch. I just feel like, I don't know. I think that it's going to require us getting back to recognizing how much we are just part of evolution and part of, deeply connected with trees that give us our ability to breathe. How can you say that we're not connected? It's just not wanting to recognize that we are part of something larger. People just want to feel precious within themselves, and they're missing the beauty of feeling precious within a larger, I really, you can't even wrap your arms around how large that is, but just a larger energy that just flows through everything, beautiful.
Well, I think it's a bit odd to think that you're not part of it. I don't understand how people can think they're not.
But and who's educating people about that? If you're in an Indigenous culture, you're learning from your elders, but where is that being taught? People are, allowing the schools to teach their children. The schools aren't teaching that. It's just I'm afraid with our generation, there's going to be so much lost. And
I think they're being taught. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I'm sure every generation feels that way, but I don't know. I'm hopeful.
I think people are afraid They're afraid of nature. They want to live forever.
Yeah, that's true.
They really don't get it that there's a continuum.
Yeah.
And that none of us actually know what that is, but we
Yeah,
know there is one.
I mean, I feel like it's just beyond our ability to know. You know, we can't. It's like I heard someone say once, and I don't know how true it is. If if an alien were standing next to you, you might not even see them, because there's nothing in your memory bank or your experience to be able to, if it was in a form that we haven't had in a cartoon or in real life, we might not even see it. So I think that it's even beyond that we can't know what we don't know, but I would love to hear you. I know that you do Mandala readings, and
I do.
Yeah, and so I'm fascinated by this, and I think that but my friends and clients would love to hear you, what you have to say to explain that, because this is an offering where you and I sort of are different, but the same but different. And I love the differences, and I love that we're able to network with each other, and that if there's someone that I'm working with, and I know that they might be digging deep into an area that would be your area of expertise, then I'll be like, you really need to contact Marigold.
Well, that likewise, yeah. That's how the world works, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
We need each other. So yeah, this is my area of expertise. Just trying to think what. Amanda, look, I set out a whole lot of work on the table. I don't know, is that coming through?
I can see it. I mean, they're not close up.
Okay, so I normally work within a circle. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just try not to. But normally I do. And just trying to think if these are pretty, but can you see, where are we? How about I just hold it up? That's better. So that one.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful.
So what I would do if someone had that's more like a dream kind of image. But what I would do is go through that with the person to try and find the deeper meaning and the personal significance, because there are dream diaries and things like that in the world, but they're only guides, and we all have our own personal symbology, and I would never presume to know what someone else's personal symbols are. It's quite a study. It's quite a deep study, and what happens is you bring out. So in this, I would say, I'd be looking at the drawing, and I'd be seeing what's resonating in the picture, and I'd say, my eyes are being drawn to the gateway in the background. First of all, it's the flying figure, and I'd talk about that with the person and ask them, what that could be, and the significance of red feathers on the head, and what do wings mean to you, and all that, because it means different things to different people. And then I'm looking at the gateway underneath them and behind, and there's a light on top of there, and I would like to know what that's for. And then all the little beings working the soil under the ground in the foreground. And I'd just go around that picture, and we'd talk about the personal significance of the colours. We'd look at the numbers, sequences of things, where the energy is constellated, and what that means for them, and then how we integrate that with their life, and how we see because it's all connected with their unconscious mind trying to tell them something through their art. All art is, all up that's done intuitively is from that place, and it's the place of dreaming. So you can't understand that for yourself because it's unconscious. So you can't bring unconscious into consciousness without it being reflected by somebody else. It's like needing a resonator to send sound back to you. So that's what the therapist is for. They're just there to send it back to you by asking the right questions. And that gets you to actually see the significance of your own work. And this one's a fairly, you can make out what you think that's about, but that's a fairly typical sort of example of different states of consciousness kind of art. And it's one person looking at another person, but which is which? It's like which way? Yeah. Which world are we in? So yeah.
So when you're working with someone and they're saying, well, let's just say they're saying to you, I'm having a repetitive dream, okay, a recurring dream. And so do you have them make a sketch, or do you? Okay.
Yep. That's the transpersonal art therapy. Transpersonal means the bridge between spirituality and psychology. So I'm working, how they say a shaman has a foot in both worlds. Yeah. And that's how I'm working. I'm relating the spiritual with the psychological, with the emotional. It's holistic. And the most beautiful part of that is that if the dream's reoccurring, I know that that's a message that person is trying to tell themselves really badly, and they're not getting it. And when you have a dream like that, it will keep coming back. It might not come back in the same form, but the message will keep coming back, maybe in a different dream. And the beauty of dream work using art is that we get to the essence of the message pretty quickly, usually. And by the artist interpreting their own symbols of colour, number, texture, shapes, everything is simple. And so it's an art therapy technique. And you don't have to be able to make art. That's the other thing. You may never have held a pencil, but you can still do this work because it's so personal. And we're not working towards a product. We're just the reason I like to use mandala, working in a circle, is because the circle contains the image, and that's like a snapshot of the psyche at that time. So you can never do the same mandala twice because your mind's moved on. It's fantastic though, because it's so accurate. It's like a photo, and it's we decode it. It's exciting.
I love that. That's wonderful. Yeah. I know I'm familiar with the eco art therapy certification that I got from Portland State University, but it's for walking into nature with, and communicating, turning on all of your senses, of which there are 42, I believe, that we're so, think we only have 5 or 6, and then taking your problem to nature and working through, getting solutions and answers. And you can use, it's art, but it's also sort of lots of questioning, and using your senses to connect with nature. So I love that, but this is a whole different.
This isn't quite so shamanic as walking in nature. Yeah, in nature, that's really shamanic work, and I've done that too. But the art therapy it's like a crossover point between psychology and just that it's magic. It's the shaman's way of, because, a shaman can be a trickster, and, we just kind of tweak it so that the cogs start working and people go, oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the magic moment. That's what makes me excited every single time I work with someone. It's because I know the theory, the psychological theory, and a lot of it is intuition as well. That's the spiritual, shamanic side. Yeah.
Well, I just want to encourage people, if they feel that this can be of help to you, or they, a week from now it hits them, oh, I remember listening to Marigold Fairweather. And there'll be a link on my website for anyone that wants to work directly with Marigold. There's some other offerings as well. Marigold, do you want to talk about other things that you might be interested in offering?
Well, I am an art therapist, so if anybody wants art therapy, it can be used as a way of counselling. So when we use it as counselling, we always work off an image. So I always ask people to do an image, and then we talk about that. So we have conversations. But my personal interest is mandala and dream work. They're my two great loves. But I've got lots of techniques. That's how come I use clay. I use clay to work through some things, but clay isn't suitable if you're physically ill. Clay can be a little bit too taxing for your body because it works on the etheric. So you have to. I am aware of. I've got lots of different things that I do. Wet on wet watercolour to help people loosen up, or we have structural work. I love using oil pastels. Do you use oil pastel?
I have, but then I want to go back and smear it smooth. I'm not like, I don't know why, but I'm real picky about the texture and letting things show through, and I don't know. I haven't used it very much for that reason. So.
I find oil pastels really good for meditation. I brought this picture. I didn't know what you wanted me to show, but this is a big old one. I took it off the wall. That's
beautiful.
Well, that was a meditation in oil pastel.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
It started off under a grapevine. Where's this? Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, see that little stick?
Yes.
So that was the shadow of an old stalk from a bunch of grapes. And then it just grew out of that. So this has become like a dream portal. Yeah. There. There's the portal. It's got all sorts of stuff around there. So that's oil pastel, and I really love my clients to use that because it's fast, and you can get a lot of detail, but it's fast and it's bright, and it's strong.
And it's not like you get wonderful mistakes. Like, it's not really a mistake. It was just an intuitive move. Yeah,
there are no coincidences. There just aren't.
Yeah,
that's how I work.
Well,
anyway,
Marigold, thank you so much for taking us on a tour of your studio.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
This has been lovely. Can we get one more look at your garden? You said,
can you see out there? I don't know if you can you see out there? That's that one side.
Oh, there it is. Oh yeah.
We have winter.
We've got a lot going on outside too.
I'll show you outside. I'll just take it out. See now?
See, and we're looking at the sky. I can see the sky.
Oh, sorry. How's that?
Okay, there you are.
I can only see the back of the camera.
Oh, it's a beautiful garden.
That's part of it. It's an acre and a half. And it's a bit wild and woolly, but we love it. Yeah.
I would think when
There you go.
I would bet it would be wild and woolly, depending, because of where you're at. You've got some
Yes,
wild animals.
it is that. It's wild and woolly because of where we are, and it's wild and woolly because if I wanted it to be pristine, I'd have to be gardening full time, and I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I don't like going out when it's so cold, but I'll have to this afternoon. I'm planting. I've extended my food garden, even though it's hard to grow food in this weather, and I purchased heaps of horseradish and berry plants, bare rooted, 6 raspberries and 20 horseradish and 5 new elder trees, all this stuff.
Elderberries. Oh.
Yeah, they don't like it here for some reason. They do grow up here, but in my garden they don't like it. But I'm going to make them grow, I think. But yeah, so this afternoon I've got to go and pot all those up. That's right, and 15 kilos of different types of potatoes.
I'm going to try potatoes this year. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Oh, they're great. They're a great crop to grow.
Yes, I'm learning. I'm slowly learning. So my 5th year, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of what not to do, and I'm still pretty weak on what to do.
You'll get it. Yeah, gardening's an art too.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You have to.
Marigold, this was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Lots of love.
All right. Well,
thank you.
Have a wonderful day. We'll have a wonderful evening on our end here because our times are so good. But thank you again.
Okay. Thanks, Linda. Bye.
Bye-bye, Marigold. So thank you for joining us. Come back soon and happy awakenings.